Hey guys, it's Jody here with Honeysuckle Hill Bee-stro, and I have Indiana treasurer Daniel Elliott with me here in the kitchen. Thanks, Daniel. This is the first time Daniel and I have ever really met and had a conversation. And so we're going to start in the kitchen because we got a fun little surprise of how we're cooking this today. So Daniel, welcome to the Bee-stro in Clay County.
I come from rural Indiana, so I love rural communities or small communities. That's my happy.
Okay, so we're making Blackberry Cobbler today.
Yes, we are.
So have you made this before?
Oh, yes.
Okay.
The only difference I will say is usually they're blackberries from my farm.
Nice.
So wild blackberries.
Yeah.
I love they have a little bit of a tartar taste to them. But the reality is, I'm a horseman. Can't tell because we're behind the counter, but I've got my cowboy boots on, always do. So I do a lot of camping.
Okay.
And I also used to be a scoutmaster for many years.
Yeah.
And I kind of cobbled this recipe together over the years, just hit and miss,
Nice.
trying different things. And as a kid growing up grew up in southern Indiana in Jennings County, and we just we didn't have a lot of money, but the one thing, my mother always had a really big garden.
Nice.
And so we've always had fresh food. And then, of course, when my wife and I got married, we've continued that same tradition. My wife is an amazing cook, an amazing gardener. And, of course, she just kills it in the kitchen.
Good.
But my opportunity to show a little talent is outside, on the grill or in the open fire. And so over time, this is kind of something that we developed, and the kids really, really love this.
Okay, so this is totally Daniel's recipe. So I'm just here as an observer, assisting. So you got the ingredients out there. I've got a spoons here. So that's a big one. So anyway.
Well, and 2 cups of flour, not real complicated.
Okay. And we pre-measured everything because we're trying to be like a cooking show.
She's much better than me. I've been like digging for stuff. And then 2 cups of sugar.
All right.
And then here we got cinnamon, baking powder, and a little bit of salt, to put that in there. And again, since you're tired and been on the horses all day long, you don't want this to be complicated.
Right, exactly.
So then you just mix this up. Now, to be honest, when I'm out camping, I will actually pre-mix the dry ingredients at home.
Smart.
Stick that in a little Ziploc bag, and so that way all I have to do is first, is add the milk.
Okay. And I'm going to put this hot pad on when you're ready for the butter.
I'm going to be ready for the butter just a second.
Okay. And so that's 1 cup is what I measured of milk.
And go ahead and add the butter.
Okay.
I'll stir it in
and
here.
This is a cup of butter, too, that we melted. Right.
This is, hey, none of this stuff is good for you according to your doctor.
Right.
But according to Mom, it is.
Right. Okay, so I will tell you, around here we use Italian flour because a lot of people who have a gluten intolerance can do the Italian flour.
I didn't know that.
Because it doesn't have all the pesticides and everything on it. In Europe, they treat their grain a little bit better than what we do over here, and so it's better on people's tummies.
Gardening, so literally our farm, none of the vegetables that are grown on our farm have ever had any pesticides in it. Not gonna lie, it irritates me a bit because I have to
do the weeding.
The weeds are insane. But my wife is like, nope, we are not putting it.
Yeah,
she'll let me spray the driveway. That's about it.
That's how we are too.
I did not know that, and I do have some youth from my church who are intolerant. So I might try that. So that way they can enjoy the same thing that everybody else.
Right, exactly. Because we get our Italian flour from Webster. If you want to, you get it in a 50-pound bag. So but it's amazing how often I'm having to order bags of Italian flour because we go through a lot.
We have 4 kids. 3 of them are adults, but we have 4 kids, and we include church youth groups and just friends over. 50 pounds. My wife does the same thing. She buys them, I think, in the 30-pound bags. Yeah. But it's just
it goes fast, right?
She's a great baker, so this is probably in the Dutch oven is probably the only time I actually do that. I'm the guy. Yeah, you put me with the animals, I'm there all day. Yeah. But the gardening part, I'm not gonna lie. If I can find an excuse not to weed, I will go find it.
Weeding. The idea of gardening is always fun. Since we have the restaurant here, we don't have a garden anymore. And we're on an old coal mine land, so this is an old spill pile. So not great for gardening. But the house we lived in before, my garden was on top of an old hog lot, which was perfect.
Oh, yeah.
So, but
well,
anyway.
My father and mother, who are still alive down in Jennings County, they still garden, even though they're into their later 70s. I'm like, Dad, that garden might be a little big, and I'm like, it's only you and Mom, but nope, he keeps doing it.
Yeah, and that probably keeps him young. So now what's our next thing that we're doing?
So our next step is really easy. Our next step is my little toy over here.
Oh, nice. My
Dutch oven.
Okay.
And I've had this thing for so many years, I can't even tell you. And honestly, there's two ways you can do this, and we'll go out here and do this. And you could do the easy cleanup way where you put aluminum foil in and then you cook it. And I know it doesn't have much of a difference in everything, but I kind of like I don't mind cleaning up afterwards. I like to just put it in the Dutch oven, and the reason for it is I just kind of feel like it gives a little extra to that crust. Okay. So that's me.
Okay.
Now, but
so we're putting this in down there. We're going to take this stuff down to the fire pit.
We can do it in here.
That's whatever. Because he's the master. I'm just.
Well, I'll tell you what. Traditionally, I put it in down there.
Okay, so let's do it. Let's do it. I'll carry. All right. Meet us down at the fire pit, guys. All right. Daniel, we're out at the fire pit, back. So what are we doing?
All right, well, honestly, it's not that complicated. Okay. Like I said, when you've been out on the trail all day, you want it to be simple.
Right.
So all we're doing is we are taking this, and as I mentioned
You want
earlier,
me to hold anything?
I've got it for the moment.
Okay.
All we're going to do is put the battery in. Again, you can put aluminum foil in. I'm not particularly picky on that one.
Now, with cast iron, you always grease it or oil it before you put it away. So there's no need to spray or spray pan or anything because you've already got that oil in your cast iron. So
it's seasoned well.
Yeah.
And so and because of that, it does make it weird.
Here, let me hold that.
Okay, yeah, you're right. That I need a third person here.
Yeah. You want me to turn it this way so you can see what it is?
Yes, that would be
there
fantastic.
We go.
Thank you.
So we are using, you guys get to see my backside. Sorry about that. But we are using a Clay City Pottery bowl too. Daniel, Clay City Pottery is the oldest business in Clay County.
Awesome.
And so they have lots of different colors in their bowls and pie pans and everything. So next time you're in Clay County, pick up a couple of bowls or pie plates for those on your Christmas list.
My wife will love that. I'll have to look into that. Blackberries, to be honest, all we do is dump them on top.
Okay,
because what will happen is as the blackberries start to exude a lot of juice, that'll start to move them to the bottom.
Nice.
And they'll still be across the top as well. So, and I love extra blackberries.
Yeah, I think that the recipe that you gave me said 5 to 6 cups. You've got at least 8 cups in there, so we're going to be very blackberry-ish.
Well, we might take a few.
Okay, all right.
I should have asked.
Okay, all right.
I should have asked, but I'm just kind of I do like the blackberries.
Okay.
So we'll take a cup or two.
Okay.
Out.
Yeah, you're probably good there.
Yeah. Okay, so now we let.
And this is not a sanitary condition. This is not our normal cooking, but we're cooking outside.
So we're cooking outside, and let's be honest. Now, here's the key thing about this. The key thing is you're cooking with coals. Okay. And when you're cooking with coals, this is very unpredictable. This is not like, my wife's, she's got her double oven.
Right.
And so it is like punch it in, wait for the timer.
Right.
Yeah, no. This is an experiment. We could burn this thing.
Okay.
You never know.
Right.
So you have to constantly check. But the key thing with Dutch oven cooking is there's 2 aspects to it: the top and the bottom.
Okay.
You've got to put. You want to have coals. You don't want to have fire. If you have fire, then that's going to be too hot.
Right.
And you want to have coals on the bottom and on the top.
Okay.
So that's why you see with the Dutch oven, you've got this lip here. That's to hold the coals. So
perfect.
You could have something really fancy, but the way I do it at home, I just use a shovel.
Okay, perfect.
So we're going to put this in here, but before we put it in here, we're going to grab a shovelful of coals, hot coals, because that's going to go on top.
So
yeah, and you can use logs or you can use charcoal. I mean, to me, it just depends on what you have available. If you've already started a fire like Andy did here, then you've got what you need. You've got the coals you need. But if you didn't have anything like that, you could always just grab your coals,
your charcoal, and
here's the heart.
Is that,
you know what?
Where are those hot pads? We good?
Improvise.
Oh, nice. I like it. Okay, now is that fire that's kicking up to the side, is that going to be a problem?
It's not going to be a problem. We just got to keep an eye on it.
We're going to check it in about how many minutes, Daniel?
Well, usually I will come in after about 15 minutes, and and here's what we're going to do. We're going to move the Dutch oven in a counterclockwise position.
Okay.
But then we're going to move the lid in a clockwise position. So this is how, back in the olden days when they were cooking over fire all the time, this is how you try to have a little bit more even heat.
Nice.
Not perfect.
Right.
Nothing here will be perfect. And one of the things that we'll do a little bit later when we get closer to when we're about halfway done is we'll sprinkle that brown sugar on top.
Perfect.
And that'll make a really cool crust.
Nice. All right.
Okay.
All right.
We'll wait and see.
All right. Awesome. So Daniel, we're in the carving shed. Andy built this because he likes to chainsaw carve. So that's why with wood, So anyway,
I know what chainsaw carving is. That's cool.
So anyway, not very many people get to be interviewed in the carving shed. I think you're the first one.
Awesome.
So.
Well, I feel honored. And to be honest, I'm a lot more comfortable here than I am in a newsroom. So.
Oh, good deal. So, okay, tell me about yourself. So you grew up in Jennings County. We've already talked about that.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So how old were you? How did you and your wife meet? How did you get out of Jennings County? Not that there's anything wrong with Jennings County, but
so I grew up very poor.
Okay.
And so I'm actually the first in my family not born in the Appalachian Mountains. The first family.
Okay.
My father had just started migrating during that what they call the hillbilly migration.
Yes, Hillbilly Elegy.
Yes,
with J.D. Vance.
J.D. Vance's book. Yes, I read that, and I'm not going to lie. There was I was like, okay, this is who's behind you?
Yeah.
So, but it's what we did, and I was the first in my family to go to college.
Okay.
When I remember as a young man, I was going to church. I had not gone to college yet. Since I was real poor, I just assumed that I wouldn't be able to go.
Right.
And I know this seems very strange, but when you grow up in that kind of poverty, you just don't recognize that, there are other ways.
100%.
And so I remember a lady at church, Yolanda Breidenbach. She said to me, "Why aren't you in college? You're too smart not to be in college." And I'm like, "Well, because I can't afford it." Mm-hmm. And she said, "Haven't you heard of grants and loans?" And I'm like, "What are those?"
Yeah.
And so right before that, I decided to go on a mission for my church. Mm-hmm. And so I'm a excuse me, I'm a member of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. I chose that faith as a young man, and so I had the opportunity to go to South America for 2 years.
Okay.
So being in South America for 2 years as a missionary, amazing experience, because you think about this. You take a young man who is arguably in the most selfish stage of his life, in his early 20s, and you say, "I want you to go to South America, spend 2 years there, teaching people about Christ, teaching them about life, teaching them, how to be better parents, how to be better people. It only helps make you a better person." So I met a girl.
Okay.
I liked the girl. Mm-hmm. And the girl was going to college in Utah. Okay. And I followed her.
Yeah.
And went to the college she was going to.
Okay.
100% the best decision I ever made in my life.
Yeah.
Because we've been married for 31 years.
Good.
So
good for you.
with 4 wonderful
Congratulations.
children.
Yeah.
And went to school out in Utah. And then she's a Hoosier. She's from Franklin area. And so once we started my career, when I was in college, found out that people would pay me money to build things on the internet. So I became a computer programmer.
Okay. Is that what you went to school for?
That's what I went to school for. I
Okay.
got a degree in business and computers.
Okay.
And went to a little college called Utah Valley University.
Okay.
Literally picked it because it was the closest school to BYU, where my wife was going to school at. And then when I got there, found out they had this great program for computers. Started working in that industry in Utah when it was very hot, back in the 90s. And then my wife and I, we'd already started our family, and we were like, we want to go home.
Yeah.
We want to be home.
Yeah, right. Right.
I'm from here, she's from here. And so we came home, settled in Morgan County. It's a little place called Green Township. And Greentown, it is the type of place where I can literally saddle up my horse and ride my horse around the neighborhood, which is farms and homes. Out of the house, but the fourth is 14, and he's 6 foot tall, 14-year-old, and he eats like a horse, and he eats the most unhealthy things, but he's skinny as a rail, and we homeschool. That was something.
So did we. We homeschool too.
I started my own business, started a software company based in Martinsville, and started doing that, and that was my career until the day I became state treasurer.
Okay. So what was your business?
We built custom web applications for people. I mean, cybersecurity. We did cybersecurity.
Okay.
Started playing in what has now become known as AI.
Oh, did you?
And so I am honestly usually the biggest nerd in the room when I'm in the room.
Okay.
I just am. I admit it. But I also kind of point out to people, it's being a nerd is probably not a bad trait for a state treasurer.
Yeah, probably not.
No, it works out well.
Yeah. So, okay, just got to address this question. Yeah. So you went to UVU, which that's where Charlie Kirk was.
My daughter is probably one of the biggest Charlie Kirk fans that I ever met.
Yeah.
My daughter is attending UVU right now.
Oh, okay.
So she was attending UVU at the time.
Oh, wow, dang.
Well. So she would have been at that event, but we have our annual family hog. But she was home for the hog roast. So she had a lot of friends who were there, and so glad that she was with family when it happened. She is. But she also wishes she could have been right there with her friends at that point in time to strengthen her friend. Now I'll do it from this angle, even though I'll get smoke in my face. And really all you do, so when you're turning it, you just do a little quarter turn. We got a rod. That's all you need.
And I'm just watching Daniel from off screen here because that looks like he does not need my help. I would just be a hindrance, I think, at this point. And so do you do that again in another 15 minutes then?
Pretty much.
So UVU, have you been back to since Charlie passed away and kind of looked at the scene?
Absolutely. So a few months after that, went back. Obviously, my daughter's there.
Yeah. And
I was in Utah for some business and for the state. But also I did want to see what was going on with Charlie Kirk, and what happened. My daughter had already told me that there was a memorial, and it wasn't something that had been made. And there's debate now about whether they're going to put a statue up at some point, and that's something for the school to work through. But the people, just regular people, not even just students, just people, had created memorials, 2 different ones.
Okay.
One on the outside of the campus, is part of the campus, but as you came right in, you see, there's a parking lot, and then right by the main entryway, there's a big Utah Valley University sign, and people had just put mementos, flags, photos of Charlie Kirk. It was absolutely beautiful and very moving. One of the things I thought was the most fascinating, though, was Utah is a high desert, and so it is not green like Indiana.
Okay.
At least that part of Utah. I mean, it looks green because people have sprinkler systems and things like that, but naturally it is not. And so how we have the medians and things around around our buildings have grass or flowers. Well, they don't have that. They have rocks because it's too dry. They have wildfires going on right now, so they have these river rocks all over the place. And people started creating these little pylons of river rocks just stacked up. And we're not talking about 1 or 2 or 5 or 10. We're talking about dozens, probably a couple hundred or more.
Oh, wow.
And they just stacked them up, and in remembrance of Charlie Kirk.
Oh, wow.
And it was really cool to see all of these.
That's kind of a neat analogy, because what he did kind of built an idea upon an idea upon an idea, and how his influence has grown too. That's kind of a neat analogy.
And the school did something that I thought was really neat as well. The school has just the architectural design. A lot of the buildings have this fancy, smooth concrete surfaces. And so they started providing chalk for everybody. They would just leave it there, and people would write little messages on the walls around the facility. And then they had another memorial right in the quad where Charlie had been. And so you have the people from the community saying, no, you know what? Without anyone asking them, it's like, we're going to remember what Charlie Kirk stood for and died for here.
You didn't grow up in the Mormon Church. You didn't grow up Republican. Tell me about that metamorphosis. How did that happen?
I'll start with the easy one first, and that is how I chose to become a member of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints.
Okay.
I was living in Houston, Texas at the time.
Okay.
In inner city.
Okay.
So I went from poverty in rural Indiana to poverty in inner city Houston, Texas. I went to live with a relative. When I was there, I'd always had an interest in religion.
You didn't grow up with any sort of religious background at all?
We didn't go to a specific church. My father was one faith. My mother was another faith. My grandfather was another faith. My grandmother was another faith.
Okay.
So there were a lot of different churches.
Yeah.
In the world that I was in, and of course, being in Southern Indiana, one thing we have plenty of, even in rural communities, lots of churches.
Right. Exactly.
And so I, being a little kid, going to vacation Bible school.
Yes.
Going.
Did you hit them all?
Pretty much.
Yeah.
Pretty much. Yeah. It was fun. It was a way to get out of the house.
Right.
This was pre-internet, guys. There
a
wasn't a lot else to do.
That's right.
I went to a lot of different churches, and had a lot of questions. And then one day, one of the things I'd always been fascinated. You're going to hear things that most people don't know.
Okay.
One of the things I'd always wanted to do since I was little was learn martial arts.
Okay.
I would study books. I would do all, but unfortunately, again, because of the poverty, had no opportunity to do that. And so, as a young man, as I had just graduated high school, was living off of a Telephone Road, which is one of the most dangerous portions of Houston, Texas, at the time, especially. And I went to this martial arts school. Started going, and the teacher looked at me. I had long hair. It was the '80s. I looked like a kid from the '80s.
Yeah.
And he was a Vietnam Marine drill sergeant. And he looked at me and said, "I gotta get rid of this kid. This kid will not last." So he and his senior students basically used me like a human punching bag.
Oh, dang.
Well, that's part of it was part of that mentality as a Marine. And then he found out, this farm kid from Indiana, a little tougher than he looks.
Okay.
And so he kept me around. And so one day we started having conversations about faith, about religion. He was a member of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, but hadn't really gone for many years. And he said, I need to get this young man going to church with me. And so he asked me to go, and at first I said no. Finally, I decided that, yeah, sure, I'll go. And then shortly thereafter, I was praying to Heavenly Father, and I felt just this overwhelmingly, spiritual message that this was where I needed to be. And so I made that choice. I got baptized a few days later.
Okay.
And I've been a member of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints ever since.
So not only did you go to church and join the church, but you made him go back. Is that right?
Absolutely.
Okay.
In fact, if you were to go into my office at the State House, you'll see a katana, which is a Japanese sword.
Okay.
And it's not there for decoration. He was never a wealthy man. He's since passed. He was never a wealthy man, but years later, I get this package in the mail. I'm back home in Indiana. I got my kids, all these things, and business, and and he had sent me a sword, engraven with the name of his school on it, and which for him cost quite a bit.
Yeah.
And he said this represents a warrior at rest. So if you go into my office, you'll see this big black katana, and that is a gift from him. I'm not sure how much rest I'm at, but it reminds me that most of the real battles that we fight, they're not with swords.
Right.
They're with our minds.
Right.
They're with our spirits. Shortly thereafter, I came back home to Indiana, went on my mission, as I mentioned earlier, then met the girl of my dreams. Now, when you're a missionary, you don't date. So I had spent my time as a missionary writing this girl. We had become friends, best friends pretty much. She actually went on a mission as well. We got home about the same time. And I was trying to get up the guts to ask her on a date. Now, I should back up a second. We had met right before my mission.
Okay.
And when we met at a church dance. I go home, tell my mom, here's this great girl I met. Too bad I'm going on a mission. I'll never see her again. Maybe we can write. She, of course, being much wiser and smarter than me, went home and told her parents, I just think I met the boy I'm going to marry. I'm clueless. So I go on my mission. We write. We become really good friends. Then she decides to go on a mission too. She had already decided she was going to go on a mission, but she goes on her mission as well. I'm in Argentina. She's in New England. And then we get home right about the same time. So I get home just a week before she does. I need to point this out. Again, grew up poor, went on a mission. Other people from my church funded my mission.
Okay.
So when I came home from my mission, everything I owned on this planet was in a box this big.
Okay.
I owned nothing. I didn't have a job yet. I hadn't even applied to college yet.
Okay.
Young man in his 20s. And she gets home from her mission. She comes from just a normal upper middle class family. She was halfway finished with college. She was just doing everything that a young lady should be doing, right? And so we get back. I go and see her when she comes home from the airport and spend the day with her and her family, and that's on a Friday. So I go back home, and that whole Saturday, I am trying to get up the guts to ask her on a date.
Okay.
I know it seemed crazy, but that's,
Yeah.
It was,
because you were already kind of special to her since you were there at the airport. But that didn't
get
click
in my
with you.
head.
Okay.
Didn't
Okay.
get in my
All
head.
right.
Not at all.
Well, God love you.
Yeah.
Okay.
Again, every guy watching this will relate. When it comes to girls, especially if it's the girl we like, we're clueless. We just are. And so that Saturday, I'm just worrying about, will she go out with me?
Yeah.
So I don't have a car. I have nothing. My little brother, has to take me from Jennings County all the way up to Johnson County to drop me off to go to church with her that day, and I spend the whole day with her and her family. Again, clueless young man, by the way, because you would think it took me the entire evening to finally share with her that I had feelings for her.
Okay.
Of course, clueless me didn't realize she had feelings for her.
Yeah.
So there you go. So we finally, and this is the part that gets interesting. So, her dad is going to drive me back home to Jennings County.
Okay.
We're sitting in the back of her. I'm sitting in the back of her dad's car with her dad driving. She comes with us. And so, of course, since we just shared our feelings literally 10 minutes before that, we're holding hands in the car. We're holding hands in the car. We're driving home. I swear to you to this day, I heard her say these words. I want to be with you forever. She will swear to you that she never said those words. She thought those words, but she never said those words. And it's like I didn't have control of my tongue. I asked her to marry me right then and there in the backseat of her dad's car.
Oh, wow. Well,
and I only met her 3 times. Only physically seen her 3 times.
Oh, wow.
And her dad didn't hear it.
Okay.
So
that's good.
That's good. Very good.
But did she hear it?
She did, and she said yes.
Okay. Good deal.
And
so then the courtship happened, and
we did it backwards. We dated after we were already engaged. But It was, and she made me wait like a year because she wanted to have that perfect wedding
right.
that she had been planning since she
Right.
was a little girl.
And you probably needed to have like job, college, something to to show you've got some prospects.
You know what? She will tell me. I kind of was thinking that,
Yeah.
but she will tell you to this day that she was like, I was never worried about that. She always had faith that I was going to be able to provide for our family. And since I grew up poor and had not had that in my family, that was something that I was really worried that I wouldn't be able to provide because I had not experienced that.
Right.
And so I when I went to college, and we did get married while I was in college. She finished her degree long before I did finish mine. I worked 3 jobs while going to college and supporting a family.
Yeah.
Work and making sure you're not afraid of work, I think, is an important aspect of life.
So, okay, that's an interesting concept.
Mm-hmm.
When do you think you learned to work?
Without much, you have to work. A lot of my summers and weekends were spent helping my dad. He was a laborer, so helping my dad on different projects. It's just, it was what you learned. I grew up in the country, so it was just one thing my family's never been afraid of is hard work.
Yeah.
Now this is the part we want to go check and see how we're doing.
Oh, okay.
Just because every fire is a little bit.
I love the smell of campfire.
Me too.
Fire.
And the nice thing is, if you get a little bit of charcoal in something, it doesn't really matter.
Yeah. It just adds to the flavor.
Ooh.
Is that
that's
over?
Looking good.
Okay.
Yeah. Now, what we might be dealing with, though, here is we are a little black on the edges there.
Okay.
So this is where sometimes you just have to say, okay, so since our edges are a little crispier than probably we want.
Take out some of the coals.
Well, actually,
the
thing that we're probably dealing with here is the really tightness of this metal container.
Okay.
So it's kind of creating like a double convection. I don't know what you call it.
Yeah.
But that's okay because you can take this out and just put it, if it's okay with you, to put a little bit over here on the ground. Because we're really cooking on the outside. Now we're just kind of cooking things down.
Yeah. Sounds good. Look at this. So people are learning a lot with this episode. I mean, not only are they learning a recipe, learning about
this
Daniel.
is a normal way of doing that. I thought everyone knew this. Oh, see, I love cooking with fire. And really all we're doing here, is we're saying we're going to cook from the bottom, we're going to cook from the top. But that outside, we don't have to worry about.
Right.
And that is the nature of cooking outdoors.
You started in politics as being the Morgan County chair.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yep.
So what led you to want to be chair of your county party?
So that was actually interesting because I started, my real start was I ran for state rep. At the time, the current state rep, Ralph Foley, he had said, I think you would enjoy this. I think you'd be good at it. And so I ran for it. Mm-hmm. Now, I'd only lived in Morgan County, it was 2012, so I'd only lived there for 10 years or so, which is plenty of time to be part of the community, but no one knew who I was. About a year later, the county chair's not going to run again, you should run. And I said no. Mm-hmm. And they said later on, a little bit, no, you should run. You should run for this. I said no. Mm-hmm. I've got a young family. There's so many people better. And third time they asked me to run, I said fine, mm-hmm. I'll run. And then as soon as I decided to run, the mayor of the city, of the county seat, decides to run. I'm like, what?
Yeah.
But I won that race.
Right.
And I was voted as county chair, and I was, and I remained county chair actually until I became state treasurer, for about 10 years.
Yeah.
I also during that time ran for county council. Mm-hmm. And one of the things, because of my background in technology, one of the things I really wanted to do was help try to get broadband into the rural areas of my community. Mm-hmm. So as I got involved in I was president of our redevelopment commission as well. Okay. I found that I had a talent for building things, mm-hmm. for getting things done, for kind of using logic to get through and make things happen. Mm-hmm. And so we built a power plant, we built sewer plants, we infrastructure.
Okay.
If you were to go to my office at the State House, you'll see there's a little plaque of the little sewer plant. And I have it there. You're like, why do you want to have I'm sorry, the modern term is wastewater treatment facility. It's still a sewer plant.
Yeah.
But people will ask sometimes, why do you have that there? That's kind of odd. And I said, well, it's there to remind me that most of the good work that we will do as elected officials is going to be underground. And maybe literally or figuratively. It's going to be things people don't notice. You know, the job of government is to make sure that the opportunities are there for everybody. But not to pick winners or losers, but just simply to say, let's create a good infrastructure. And that's how you grow a good community. One of those pieces of infrastructure that I was really passionate about was broadband.
How hard was it to get broadband in the rural area of Morgan County?
It took a lot. It took a long time. When I started on that project, it took about 10 years to get it to where we wanted. Not that it's perfect. It's still not everywhere it needs to be. But when I started that process, Morgan County had about 25% of its population had access to broadband.
Wow.
So obviously your bigger communities.
Right.
By the time I became state treasurer, so a little less than 10 years, 85% of Morgan County
Good deal.
had broadband. And I didn't do it by myself. You know, that's one thing a lot of folks will get.
Yeah.
And so you start to see these things that we can do from a government perspective to make it easier, not for one entity or another, but to make it easier for everybody.
Right.
Things like infrastructure are things that government are good at. Roads, broadband, water, those are things that we really should work on and see where we can be helpful. Taxes need to be low, not just because the government needs to learn how to tighten its belt, you know, but also because if we get reliant on taxes, then we start killing business. I chose the Republican Party because I feel like those conservative principles are better for governing states, local governments, and our country.
What is the skill set needed in a treasurer, and what does the treasurer do day in and day out?
That's an excellent question, and it's fun because most people have no idea.
Yeah, I don't have a clue.
And the treasurer of the state of Indiana is a constitutional elected office.
Yes, which is, can I just kind of explain this to viewers? So there are constitutionally elected offices at the state level and at the county level, and then there's statutory. And statutory means that it came after the Indiana Constitution. Indiana had two constitutions. 1816 was the original, and then they got rid of that in 1850 or 51 was whenever it actually passed. So we operate under the 1851. So treasurer is, but we have a lot of ABC organizations that are statutory, not at all part of the Constitution. At the county level, commissioners and council are statutory too. They are not. They are not constitutional.
Yes, they are not constitutional. Your coroner is constitutional.
Yes.
You know,
yes.
So you start to look at that and say, okay, that to change them and their role would require a constitutional amendment.
That's right.
That includes the role of treasurer. In fact, the role of treasurer, comptroller, and governor are constitutional roles. And the reality is, even within that, you know how the executive, legislative, and judicial bodies are checks and balances against each other. Even within the executive, we have a check and a balance of the governor, the treasurer, and the comptroller. The governor does not have as much authority in Indiana as, say, other states. For instance, in other states, sometimes they do, like Michigan, they do appoint the treasurer. But here, we vote on that person. Right. And the governor, of course, leads the state, manages all the people of the state, but works with the General Assembly on the budget. And the governor is only the executive. He's only supposed to enforce the laws that the legislature does. He doesn't make the law. Right, exactly. Now he enforces the laws that are part of the laws that they create for the governor. Okay. But they also create laws for the treasurer and the comptroller. So I enforce that check and balance. The governor does not have the ability to spend any money. Right. He does not have the ability to manage the money.
Okay.
So my job as treasurer my constitutional role is to manage the funds of the state of Indiana, to invest those funds. We usually invest those funds. We don't just stick them in a hole.
Right.
And then the comptroller, and so with those funds, I can't spend a single dollar. The governor manages the people. I do not get to spend I don't answer to the governor, I answer to people.
Okay.
But I do not get to spend a single dime of what I manage.
Okay.
What I have to do is manage that money. The comptroller, in this case Elise Shala, she is the one who actually writes the checks. Not the governor, not myself.
Okay.
She doesn't manage the money, but when it's time to say, okay, we're going to pay the state troopers' salaries, her signature is on that check.
Right.
Not mine, not the governor's.
So how was the treasurer's job different before, Wall Street, and you started having investments and all that kind of stuff?
So there was a lot of, back in the day, there was a lot of them just taking in the revenue, putting it in the safe.
Okay.
And watching over it.
Okay.
And then making sure every day that our books reconcile with what's being spent. We still have to do that part, by the way.
Okay.
But it's done differently. We don't have counties coming in on horseback with a bag of money anymore.
Okay.
Everything is done through banks and digitally.
Okay.
So and then of course investing has become a big part of that process.
Okay.
And so a key job that I have, because we have a biennium budget, which means every 2 years we have a budget. This is money we have set aside. We don't just stick it in a hole.
Right.
We need to say, okay, let's figure out how to take that money and help it make more money.
Okay. So, did you feel like you had the background? Because that seems like kind of more like an investment banker sort of job, right? Okay.
So another part of the job, the role of treasurer, I sit on 19 different boards.
Okay. Wow.
And I run 5 different quasi-governmental agencies.
Okay, so what are those agencies?
So I run 529, which is investment for people saving their money for their children's education.
Right, okay.
I run 911.
Really?
Only treasurer in the country to run 911.
Really? Fascinating.
I run Trust Indiana, which is a local government investment pool.
Okay.
I run what's called InvestAble, which is a program for people with disabilities that to be able to invest their funds. I run the Indiana Bond Bank. The Indiana Bond Bank is used to help local governments with infrastructure.
Okay.
So helping them build those sewer plants and sidewalks and parks.
Okay.
So these are all, and those are just the ones that I run.
Okay.
I also sit on the board of various other quasi-governmental agencies like the Indiana Finance Authority. So when we talk about Northern Indiana and building a rail project up there, so these are massive, large-scale projects beyond the scope of an individual community. We do those. We help. We do large-scale bonding, like for hospitals and universities and things like that.
Wow. Okay.
So if there's anything to do with finance, I'm involved with it.
Okay.
One thing that is touching Hoosiers every day right now is I sit on the state board of finance. That's got the director of Office of Management Budget, the director of the Office of Management and Budget, the comptroller, and myself, and we're the ones who are deciding right now. Every month, we just did this yesterday, to transfer funds to local governments because of the holiday of the gas tax.
Yes.
That's hurting local governments because they would not have the funds they need for their own roads.
Right.
So we are transferring excess state dollars directly to them so that that's not hurting our local community.
Talk to me about the suspension of the gas tax. So we're in our second reasoning for suspending it.
If you're going to be in public service, you have to recognize you're there to serve the people of Indiana.
Right.
And of course, as I mentioned earlier, growing up, and maybe because I grew up in poverty and we're in a working class family, I recognize that we really got to be paying attention to people.
Right.
Not paying attention to what serves, units of government, because units of government are there to serve the people of the community. And so the state as a whole has been able to do very well. Our tax comes from, sales tax and things like that, and we've done well. Part of the reason we've done well is because we've been very fiscally prudent. The other side of that, which we can get into later, is because, on my side, we've been able to invest well and do very well with those investments. So then, we go into this situation that none of us have any control over here in Indiana, and that is the war in Iran. It's devastating gas prices. We just know that. It's just the case. And so that's not anyone in Indiana's fault. Excuse me.
Well, our Congress members could do something. But outside of them. Okay, outside of those 9.
I'm talking about electric. That's fair. Fair point. But what I mean by that is that here is Hoosiers.
Right.
That Hoosier who is a single mom, who is doing everything to take care of her kids.
Right. They're doing all the right things.
They're doing all the right things. That could become devastating for them. The additional tax, or excuse me, the additional cost on gasoline just creates a difficulty for them just to be able to do the basics of life.
Right.
That's a problem.
Right.
And so our governor, and I agree with this decision, our governor made the decision to say, we're going to suspend the gas tax. Now,
does he have that authority since it's a financial?
He does, because in this case, this is something that was given to him by the General Assembly.
Okay.
He was specifically given that by the General Assembly to decide whether that gas tax could be suspended or not.
And is it just the gas tax that he has authority over,
that's all he has in this context.
Okay.
That he has the ability to suspend that tax. And so he did, and this is given to him in statute, by the way. This is a long time ago.
Right.
And so it was intended that, we would just have a quick emergency. Maybe there was a tornado or a flood, like what we're dealing with right now. And then, but here it's the war in Iran. And then he went through this process. And what everyone was worried about was, okay, well, that's great. Indiana's doing well. But our local communities, Martinsville, where I live, or Brazil, right down the road here, the county, Clay County, they count on those funds to help them repair roads, to fix roads, to do the normal things that need to happen. And those funds aren't going to come to them because the gas tax has been suspended. With that being said, the governor approached us, myself, and I say us, myself and Elise and Shala, because she is also on this on the State Board of Finance. Because
she's the one who would have to cut the checks.
She's the one that has to cut the checks to the communities. Absolutely. And in fact, that's her job to normally do that. And so he approaches and said, hey, I think that since we have these extra funds, if we were to move these funds over from the highway funds over to the local units of government, we can do that. Now, at some point, the highway funds are obviously going to be depleted.
Right.
So we would need the General Assembly to help us take some of the reserve funds and put there. That's something reserved for the General Assembly, but that wouldn't happen until they go into session.
Right.
Which that's not till January.
Right.
So that's a long time from now.
Right.
But the governor talked to the Senate Pro Tem, Speaker of the House, and they seemed very open to that idea. So he said, I think we're gonna be fine over here, but to make this decision here for the next the short term, we need to make a decision. And it's a board decision. Would you be willing to go along with this? And of course, myself and Comptroller and Shala were like, of course, this totally makes sense. So this is a joint decision by the three members of this executive branch that I've told you about. And so we made that decision. In fact, we just had the second vote yesterday to do that. Every month we have to do that.
Okay.
So just like he has to say every month he's going to, you're going to do this for 30 days, and he'll do it for another 30 days. And he could only do it up to a maximum of 120 days per emergency.
Okay.
And so that's what we're doing right now. We are paying the funds that these communities would have gotten at this point in time from the gas tax. We are now transferring those funds over. So that way they're not skipping a beat.
Right.
They're getting their funds for their roads. There obviously has been a new emergency declared based on the war in Ukraine, because as you can see with the flooding that we're having in parts of the state, Mother Nature and time do not care about our plans.
Right, right. So the flooding, do you think that the gas tax will continue since we're going to have to spend millions for flooding too,
I
or
think that's going to come from different sources,
right?
and
But we've got the excess reserves to be able to cover both.
That's why we have reserves.
Okay.
You know, one of the things that Indiana has a AAA credit rating, and part of the reason we have a AAA credit rating is because you're supposed to have between 10 and 15% reserves. I think we have like 13.
Okay.
Which is, so we're right smack where we should be. You know, the point is you're supposed to have a certain amount of reserves for these things, for these exact issues.
So do you think we'll get below 10% after dealing with the flooding and suspending the gas tax?
I think so, you know, because remember that we still have a good economy.
Okay.
Those things are still happening, and these are funds that were collected earlier. And so those will be funds collected for the future.
Okay.
So, you know, there'll be a bit of a spend down, but not enough to be appreciable.
Okay. Okay. Because how long do they give you to be like under 10% before you lose that AAA?
Yeah, it would have to be multiple quarters.
Okay.
So we'll be fine.
Okay. Okay. So let's talk about this. J.D. Prescott was here. We did a video with him about his plan to do away with property tax. Because I know that you mentioned that for some people, you know, the increase of gas prices, and you know that's part of the reason why the gas tax is being suspended, because that affects real families. And the way that our property taxes are now, with assessments and everything, when people are living paycheck to paycheck with escrow, you know, a property tax assessment can really affect them in a long-term generational negative way.
Right.
So what do you think about the idea of doing something totally different with how local government is funded, and, you know, doing a service tax instead of doing a property tax?
So here's my concern about a service tax is that it doesn't have stability. You don't have, you know, and so how are you going to deal with that? You've got to have something that's stable, and here's why you have to have something stable. You have to be able to make sure that people can still bond. You know? And communities still need to be able to bond, and just because sewer plants cost a lot, but you still got to have it.
And so who makes the decision? I mean, who are the bonding agents? Is that outside of Indiana, or is that within?
That has nothing to do with that is not a government agency. Bonding is done by the free market.
Okay.
And so you have folks like S&P and Moody's who they determine, you know, whether, what the ratings are. The reason that Indiana has a AAA credit rating is because we have been very steady and good with our money, but also because we have steady revenue sources for local units of government, so that the bonding rating agency can say, all right, this community, say Carmel, we'll use them because they're dealing with floods right now. Carmel is going to have to bond to repair some, you know, the bridges and things like that, and the damage that was caused. But because they have a steady supply of property tax, the bonding agencies are going to give them a very positive rating, which means that which means the interest rate's going to be lower. You know, and so that's the one thing Indiana has, is we have AAA credit rating. We have, our communities have very high credit ratings because of the state's credit rating, as well as because of their own ability to say we have something steady. So, and JD and I have talked about this. He's going to have to work on how do you replace that revenue in a way that is steady, that your rating agencies and the market, because the market does not care about politics, it would say, yeah, that makes sense. You know, that's something that's steady. I don't know what the answer to that is, and that is something the General Assembly is going to have to work out.
No, I think it's fun to see a new idea and him being transparent.
Oh, 100%.
And
I think that is one of the things. You know, JD's a farmer, which means he is by nature an entrepreneur.
Right.
And I think that is the nature of entrepreneurs. We're like, let's try something.
Yes.
You
Yeah.
know? And sometimes we try something and we're like,
that
didn't really work really well.
Right.
Or, you know, or as I go down this road, okay, I'm seeing some problems. But that's also the beautiful thing. And so I think JD's idea of let's look at new ideas.
Yeah.
Absolutely, we should be looking at new ideas.
Right, that's right.
And I think that's the beautiful thing about our citizen legislator is, yeah, maybe somebody has an idea, and in the first blush of that idea, maybe that's not going to work exactly as he has a plan.
Right.
But it starts kicking in the gears, and everybody starts adding to the soup.
Yeah.
And suddenly, when you're all said and done, oh, together we made something better.
Right.
You see, you bring all that together. That is such the American way. That is why our republic is so strong. It's also, I think, what makes our party strong as a Republican, is that we say, look, that farmer and that fireman and that software engineer, no one of them is smarter or better than the other. They're all equal.
Right.
They all have equal authority, equal ability, equal talents, and together we make something better.
Right. I think the thing with home rule, though, there still needs to be oversight. Home rule does not mean that you can just break the law.
Of course.
To get your way. That's
the checks and the balances.
Yeah. And
so sometimes what we find out is, okay, sometimes the checks and the balances aren't equal, and they aren't working as they should.
Yeah.
And we need to make sure that is equal.
Okay, let's do some rapid fire questions.
Yeah.
So whenever you are listening to something, is it podcast, music, audiobook? What do you like to listen to?
So I am eclectic. I like to listen to audiobooks when I'm on the road. I like to listen to podcasts. But I also like to just listen to country music.
Yeah.
When
you just want to not think, you listen to music.
Yeah. So the last audiobook that I was listening to was 1776, which was a history book talking about the year of 1776.
The book that has inspired you or impacted you the most?
Oh, the scriptures.
Okay, can't use that one. Sorry, because that should be a given.
No, that's fair. Okay, fair. So if I had to think of the book that has probably inspired me the most, it's going to be Chronicles of Narnia.
Okay.
The entire series from C.S. Lewis.
Okay.
I love that story. Loved it when I was a kid. Love it as an adult. Read it to my children multiple times.
Yeah.
And the reason for that, if you look at what C.S. Lewis was trying to talk to, he said that he was trying to teach children about Christ, but he was really trying to teach the parents as they were reading to their children.
Yeah.
And he used these beautiful allegories to teach us about bravery, standing up for what's right, fighting for what you believe in, kindness, and that sometimes the small things are really where the biggest changes come from. One of my favorite parts from the book is when Lucy is she was certain she had seen him, and she told everybody, and they were like, no, that wasn't him, and later on they all see him, and she says, I saw you, and he says, why didn't you follow? And she goes, well, because I wasn't sure. Which I'm like, how telling that is.
Yeah.
And then she says,
that's good.
what would have happened if I would have followed you? And he goes, you can never know what would have happened.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh.
Yeah, that's good. The person in your life that has kind of changed the trajectory.
It was Jim and Yolanda Breidenbach. And these are... sorry, he passed recently.
Okay.
They are down in Jennings County. She's still there. And I remember as a young man coming to church, little chapel in North Vernon, Indiana, and having not had anything and having struggled as a young man, I saw Jim with his arm around his wife, and they had 6 kids, 3 on each side. And I just remember thinking, wow, I could never have something like that. And as a young man, they invited me to their home. the first time I saw a family pray together. Every meal. And then they would, after it, at the end of the day, read stories to the kids, read scriptures as a family, then kneel on the floor as a family and pray.
Wow. And
I saw that, and I was like, wow.
You were like, I want that.
Yeah.
This is, okay, and this is what makes humans so great, is that he was just living his life. He didn't know he was impacting you.
Oh, Jim and Yolanda, to this day, and I say this all the time, I explain how influential they were, and they were like, our house was chaos.
Yeah.
It was a mess most of the time, and there were coloring books strewn all over the place, and people were stepping on Legos, and I'm like, it was awesome.
Yeah.
It was awesome. And then I met this great lady.
Yeah.
And that's the kind of life we've had. And yes, there were Legos, and the house was a mess. But you know what? That's something that everybody should have.
Yeah, that's right.
And what we need to create is an environment where people, if that's what they choose to do, that's what life they can have.
Right, right. And know that if you live your life according to what you are called to live by your Maker, then you will inspire somebody by your life just by living it.
And that's exactly what Jim Yolanda did for me.
Mm-hmm. I love that. Love that. Okay, so the basis of your worldview.
The basis of my worldview, as I said, I'm an optimist. Mm-hmm. I believe that we are all children of our Heavenly Father. Mm-hmm. Every one of us. Mm-hmm. Everyone who is on this planet has ever been born. That means we're all brothers and sisters.
Right.
And that when we serve other people, we serve God.
Yeah.
That's the basis of my worldview.
Yep. Perfect. What's your life's motto?
That one, I started doing family history. Us Latter-day Saints are famous for our family history.
Yes, yep.
And so the Elliott family has, the Elliott clan, all the way back to Scotland, has a motto, which I've always kind of liked. Boldly and rightly.
Do you have that, like on a wall anywhere?
Nope.
You need to do that.
Probably should.
Yeah.
I probably should. But, it's just, I've never really thought about a motto until you asked. And the first thing that came to my mind was boldly and rightly from the Elliott clan.
I like that. Yeah. I think all your kids need to have a plaque at Christmas for that.
That's not a bad idea. That might be a cool Christmas present.
It would be a cool Christmas present. Okay. So what's your perfect Daniel Elliott day if you had no responsibilities and you could do whatever you wanted?
That's easy. Me riding a horse.
Okay.
Out in the woods.
Do you prefer to ride alone, or do you prefer?
No, I'd be riding with my family.
Okay. Yeah. Very nice.
And that is usually how that works out. When my any day that I'm on a horse is a good day, and I train my own horses, and so almost every horse that we ride as a family are ones I train.
Nice. How many horses do you own?
We only have 5 right now, but we'll have we have one in the oven, so to speak.
Okay.
So we should have soon a baby foal born, and I'm looking. I have a new project since I've always trained my own horses. My daughter and I are going to be working on setting some things up, and we're going to adopt a wild Mustang.
Oh, nice.
I've never trained a Mustang.
Okay.
And I want to just, this is just a me thing. I want to be able to say, that I've taken a horse that's never been touched by a human being, and I've trained that, and I'm riding that horse. I think that would be awesome.
That would be cool. So let me ask this question. I'm a firm believer, since we're created in the image of God, that we all have a creative outlet. What do you feel like your creative outlet is?
I have a lot of creative outlets. Horse training is one of them, but my biggest one, the one that most people would recognize, so to speak, is I'm an artist.
Really? So what? Like painting, drawing?
Painting, drawing, the whole 9
yards.
Nice. It's something that when I was a little kid, my parents thought I was tracing things, and then one day when I was like 8, 9 years old, they watched me drawing freehand, and they were like, "We thought he was tracing."
Yeah.
And so as poor as we were, My parents always made sure I had art supplies. Let's try it.
I want to ask one other question,
Yes.
though. How many employees does the treasurer's office have
So
then?
if you include our quasi-governmental agencies as well, we have about 38 to 40. So we're relatively small.
Yeah, that's very
we're
small.
probably one of we are the smallest elected office at the State House.
Okay.
But
All right.
you know what? I'll leave you with this. We might be small, but we recently got our numbers back. We're announcing this today.
Okay.
So this will be coming out today. We will have made, over the course of the last 3 fiscal years that I've been treasurer, $1.8 billion in investment funds.
Oh, wow. Wow,
Now,
congratulations.
To give you a context, the previous decade before I was treasurer, combined, total, in that 10 years, was $636 million.
Oh, wow.
So we have
you've
tripled
it, yeah.
We have tripled in 3 years what we've done the decade before.
Good. Thank you. Thank you for that.
This is all money that goes right back into the general fund.
We talked for a long time. So Daniel took the cobbler off of the fire. We forgot to put the brown sugar on top. So,
yeah.
And,
that's
to,
right. My
to
wife
cook
is
in, but
going
it's
to
fine.
laugh. She's like, you were talking, and that's what happens every time. I'm like,
It still
Usually
looks delicious. Cool. So
All right.
I'm going to try
Let's
this.
see how we turned out here.
It's good. It's good. Good job. It's got that smoky flavor to it.
Oh, that's the best part about it.
All right. I did not eat breakfast, so
Me either. So
this is it. This is breakfast. So
it's berries.
thank you, Daniel, so much for
appreciate
coming
it.
and cooking and having a conversation with me.
I'd love to do that. It was fun.
All right. Thanks, guys.